Welcome to Farmers Corners FC, the French football podcast with the accent. My name is Jeremy Magan, I'm your host as usual, and every week I'm going to show you a couple of shirts. Today we got the shirt of Osaka, a Japanese team, and the shirt of Canberra, the city that I live right now, which is actually the W League shirt, women's football. They reached the semi-final, so they had a very good season this year. Let's talk about what we're here for, Ligue, French football, right? This week we're going to talk, as you can see on the screen on that side, I'm getting used to it, sorry. What happened in Ligue 1 this week, a few news, especially Bordeaux, how PSG might be favourites against Manchester City in the UCL semi-final. We obviously will go through the results of Matchday 34. We'll talk about the winners and the losers of the weekend, and there's definitely a few losers, unfortunately. And we'll start talking about Matchday 35 and the last three games that are left to play in Ligue 1, the last four games, four really passionate game when we see what's going on at the top of the table with all three clubs within 3 points and Lille still holding firm and keeping that first place. Let's see if they can keep it until the end against Paris Saint-Germain, who's pressing to get back to them. Let's go to what's going on, what happened in Ligue 1 this week. So first foremost, we've talked about Bordeaux quite a lot during the week. Bordeaux, who's in pretty big financial trouble, and I'm going to basically read you what the backers of Bordeaux have said. So the statement that King Street, who's the American fund behind the club of Bordeaux, have released this week is that the economic context linked to COVID-19 pandemic and the withdrawal of Media Pro has caused an unprecedented drop in revenues for French football clubs. Those events come on top of the financial consequences that already hit clubs hard last season due to the early closure of the season and the resulting loss of income. While FC Girondins Bordeaux is heavily impacted, King Street, its owner, after investing 46 million euros in the club since its takeover, has let it be known that they no longer wish to support the club and finance its current and future needs. The circumstances led the president to protect the club by placing it under the protection of the Bordeaux Commercial Court. An ad hoc representative has been appointed who will be responsible for assisting Girondins Bordeaux in their search for a lasting solution. What it says basically is after their takeover, King Street did spend a bit of money to try and make Bordeaux, the glory that they used to be. They failed miserably in doing that. If people remember what happened in Bordeaux at the time, they had put in charge another group to look after the club, and that group had done some interesting deals and signed some interesting contracts, which as soon as King Street realized, they got rid of that group that was managing the club for them, and then they put Frédéric Longuepé at the head of Bordeaux. Longuepé, who's been widely criticized for the way he's been running Bordeaux, and it's been now like almost a year that the Bordeaux fans week in, week out are just protesting and contesting what's going on at their club. Obviously they had some pretty horrific results last season and this season as well. When Jean-Louis Gasset arrived, they thought that maybe the soldier was going to save Les Girondins. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. There was some good spurts of games, like a few games that they play well, and Ben Arfa at one point, who was the head recruit from Gasset, did well, but eventually it didn't really work out, and as we'll see again this weekend, they had a terrible game in Lorient. After all that, King Street, the American backer, decided to back down, basically, naming the issues of COVID and of the Ligue 1, not starting again last year, and the Media Pro fiasco, which are all fair explanation. It's just really hard for a club like Bordeaux to see what's happening, and what they're saying at the end, saying that the president has placed the club under the protection of the Bordeaux Commercial Court. What they're saying basically is that the club is under administration, and that they reassured the people working at the club and the staff and the players that are going to be paid until the end of the season. But under administration, if they don't find somebody to come and buy the club quite quickly, there's threats of relegation, there are threats of having to start over from third or fourth division. Bordeaux is a big club. They haven't won a title in a long time. I think it was 2008 last time, if I'm not mistaken, with Gourcuff. But they are one of the historic clubs in in France, and I don't really remember when the last time that they would have been in second division. So it's definitely a big shock. They haven't been performing recently, but it's still the kind of team that you expect that will bounce back and will end up, back on top eventually. Sad news for Bordeaux. Obviously, we hope that it's not going to be forever. We hope that they're going to find a way to bounce back from it and to not get stuck where they are. But it's definitely sad news for Les Girondins to see that they're now basically under administration. In other news, this week in Ligue 1, little bomb dropped by Ander Herrera, the Paris Saint-Germain midfielder, who's very close to Neymar, and who basically said that Neymar and Mbappe will stay in the capital. So I don't know if it's a bit of a premature announcement or if it's really what's going to happen. But he announced their successes, with Angers, with Strasbourg, and with Brest, and three coaches that like to, have offered a good spectacle. Obviously, Darolio is the most known for being a spectacular coach in the sense like he likes to play offensive football and he likes to play attacking football. Lauré and Moulin maybe a little bit less. Moulin a bit less, and then Lauré even less. But there are three coaches that have been reasonably successful in Ligue 1, and Darolio might be, this new version of the French coach that likes to play football, the French coach that is not afraid of taking risks, something that we don't see much in Ligue 1, and we've seen a little bit of that since he's taking over in Brest. It'll be very interesting to see where he's going to end up next year. It's a bit hard to see because we hear that most of the main coaches are staying. Bordeaux, obviously, their future isn't really set in stone, so we're not too sure what's going to happen. Rennes just recruited Genesio. Marseille has Sampaoli. Lille has Galtier. There's words that Galtier might be at the end of the year, but right now they're just words. Monaco is not going to get rid of Nico Kovac right now. Lyon is looking for a coach, but one would think that Lyon is going to go for a known international coach. So we'll see where those three coaches end up. I wouldn't be surprised to see them still in Ligue 1 next year. They've proven that they have the ability to run a Ligue 1 club. It's also obviously a very hard job to do, coach, so maybe they need a bit of a year off. The last news of the week comes from Olympique de Marseille. Olympique de Marseille, who have recruited a new head scout whose name is Mathieu Louis-Jean. Mathieu Louis-Jean, who's a former scout at Manchester United, which is not surprising since the director of recruitment at Olympique de Marseille, David Friot, who Pablo Longoria put in place back in September 2020, is also a former Manchester United scout who was at Man United from 2008 to 2017, and who played a role in the Paul Pogba saga. But yeah, another Manchester United scout taken by Marseille, and there's been a few in the past 10-15 years, a few scouts going from Manchester United to Marseille for a reason that I don't understand really. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see Mathieu Louis-Jean as the head scout, under David Friot, with Pablo Longoria as the new president, because it starts to give us a bit of a better idea of what Marseille is trying to do. Obviously, Sampaoli is a coach that likes to have players that fit his football model. So I have no doubt that he's going to give all this scouting team a list of players that he wants to have. But let's see where that brings us with Olympique de Marseille. It's going to be no doubt a very, very interesting off-season in the south. Alright, let's go to our next little topic of the week. Are Paris Saint-Germain favourites against Manchester City? It's a question that we would probably not have asked at the beginning of the season. It's a question that we would never have asked before this season, but it's a question that I think deserves to be asked. And there's a lot of arguments for and against, I guess. And so I'm going to go through a couple of reasons why I think that Paris Saint-Germain might actually be favourites, and the obvious ones where Manchester City is still favourites. I guess if we go to the punctual to start with, Paris Saint-Germain is on another planet in 2021. They were able to see off Barcelona. They were able to see off Bayern Munich, which are two clubs that one would think would get rid of Paris Saint-Germain pretty easily in Champions League. Two-leg elimination game, and Paris Saint-Germain was able to go through them. And last year, Paris Saint-Germain reached the final. This year, they reached the semi-final. It looks a little bit like they got the monkey off their back, and that they're able to actually finally progress in the competition that has always been their objective since Qatar takeover, but that they never really performed in. Obviously, they can thank Mbappe for being able to go through the Champions League rounds and for their current form in Ligue. Mbappe, who's in amazing form since the beginning of 2021 and who's been decisive in those games. I mean, against Barcelona and against the first game, not the second one, and against Bayern Munich, both games. I think the whole team has been extraordinary. It's probably Pape Gay's best game, Paredes' best game, probably against Bayern Munich. Neymar actually played simple football and what we like from Neymar. Excuse me. And we enjoyed seeing that, and Mbappe was just lethal as he's been in Ligue in Champions League with the amount of goal that he's been able to score. So Paris Saint-Germain definitely have the form for them. They obviously have they also have the rest for them. They played on Saturday night / Sunday morning, whereas Manchester City actually played yesterday the final of the Carabao Cup against Tottenham, which if it was the other way around, if the French team had to play on a Monday night before a Thursday semi-final, I'm pretty sure that the game would have been postponed or cancelled or something along those lines. But they would not have put Paris Saint-Germain in a position to play on the Monday night before they have to play on a Thursday a semi-final of Champions League. Anyway, that's all to the advantage of Paris Saint-Germain. Mbappe took a knock on the weekend, but apparently is going to be able to play. Marquinhos is going to be back. So Paris Saint-Germain is going with their main team. They've had the luck that against every team that they faced, not every team, against Bayern Munich and now against Manchester City, the best player is injured. Lewandowski didn't play for Bayern Munich. Apparently Kevin De Bruyne is not going to be able to play for Manchester City. I think there's something. The main difference between the games against Bayern and Barcelona and this one against Manchester City is that the two legs are inverted. The first game will be in Paris Saint-Germain, and the second game will be in Manchester City. But besides that, Paris Saint-Germain, under Pochettino, although they've lost a few games in Ligue 1, they've always been there for the very, very big games, and he's probably found the tactic that worked the best with all those players that are talented, but that somehow always under-delivered. We all, in France, we all love Mbappe on the left side because he's obviously fast enough to have his shoulder against the back line, the throwing line, and he can see the game and he can use his space to be able to get behind the defense. Pochettino somehow also may make him succeed in the number 9 role, which is not something that we've seen often in France. When he plays with the French national team, or when he plays with Paris Saint-Germain, whenever we've seen him playing as a number 9, he's not really convinced. Under Pochettino, he is convincing. He is found behind the defense. He is found ball to feet. Clearly, he is back to his normal fitness. So he's clearly, he's done the job, and he's probably heard the criticism that was against him in January, February, and so he's done the hard work to be able to come back fit. And he came back fit at the best time. I've said a few times in the pod this year that the French are probably listening really hard to Didier Deschamps, who's asking them to just be in form when the Euro comes, and they've done everything they could to I guess improve their form all the way throughout the first half of 2021 to be able to be ready for that Euro. To finish on Mbappe, the amount of goal, the sheer amount of goal that he's been scoring, he's almost at 2 goals a game in the last month or so. This only would probably be scary for a team like Manchester City, and Neymar can deliver from any position. The only thing that's always a little bit scary with Paris Saint-Germain is their left back, is their full back, whether it's on the left or on the right. We still haven't found a full back that's really impressive. Florenzi has been good, but has been, hasn't been playing every single game. On the other side, whether it's Kozawa or Bakker, it's just not good enough. Dagba has been okay, Diallo has been okay, but you don't see those guys, defending against a Riyad Mahrez or against a Bernardo Silva. So it's going to be an interesting game to watch. Paris Saint-Germain could be called favourite. The obvious choice is to say that Manchester City is favourite just because of Pep Guardiola, just because of the money backing Manchester City. I mean, it's interesting, right? You're going to have the Qatari-backed club facing the UAE-backed club. There's a lot of money and probably a little bit of politics going on there. It's the kind of game that potentially would be fixed outside of the field, but we don't want to go into that. Manchester City obviously are having quite the season. They are definitely going to win the Premier League this season. They are 10 points away from Manchester United with 5 games left in the Premier League. They've just won the Carabao Cup, so they are on their way to a nice little doublé, and they are looking to get the three-peat by getting to the Champions League. Guardiola, since he arrived in Manchester City, has won a few titles: the Premier League in 2018, in 2019, the FA Cup in 2019, and the Carabao Cup, that League Cup, 4th time in a row now: 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021, and obviously 2 Community Shields in 2018 and 2019. Domestically, he's won what it takes. He hasn't won yet the Champions League with Manchester City. He hadn't won it with Bayern Munich either. He had won the Bundesliga, the UEFA Super Cup, the FIFA Club World Cup, and a couple of German Cup, but he hadn't won the Champions League with Bayern Munich either. With Manchester City, I think he definitely wants to get there, to bring them to the next step. Obviously, he also, for his own self, he wants to prove himself that he can win the Champions League outside of Barcelona, because he hasn't won it without Messi right now. But we'll see how it gets. As far as why Manchester City would be favourite, you just have to watch one of their game, right? I mean, they strangely, I'd say, they have been in a rough patch recently. They've lost home against Leeds. They've lost to Chelsea in semi-finals last week. But before that, they were on a run of I think it was 30-something games without losing. And wins in a row as well, I should say, and so they've just been at their premium, I guess. Besides that game against Leeds and that game against Chelsea, against 2 teams that have coaches that are able to actually match what Guardiola can do, they've been on the top of their game, and it's going to be interesting because it's probably the first time that Paris Saint-Germain is going to face a big club in their prime at that level of the Champions League. When they faced Bayern Munich, it was maybe an aging Bayern Munich a couple of weeks ago. When they faced Barcelona, at least during their first game, Barcelona was a little bit lost, and in the second game, Barcelona was probably back at their best level. And now when they're facing Manchester City, they're probably facing Manchester City minus Kevin De Bruyne at their prime. So it's going to take a great Paris Saint-Germain to try and get a result at home against Manchester City. It's going to take a great Manchester City to try and get a result in Paris. Obviously, as a French League follower, I'd love to see a result from Paris, but as a Marseille fan, I want to see Manchester City winning, and I can't lie about that. But it's going to be a lovely game. Lovely is a good word. A very interesting game. Probably a crazy second leg, and it's on Wednesday night, Thursday morning here in Australia at 5 a.m. I think. Pretty early, but I'll be awake for it. Alright, let's go up into the bread and butter of this podcast, right? The Ligue and the Matchday 34. Matchday 34 was 10 games, 38 goals, and 2 red cards. For the stat, 38 goals. I think from what I saw, in the 21st century, only once did we see more than 38 goals in one match day, and it was match day 38 of the 2007-2008 season. So the Ligue and goal scorers are definitely out for the end of the season. And I think the arrival of Sampaoli, of Genesio, and the fight at the top of the table are probably all the factors that make it so crazy right now with so many goals. Let's quickly look at the results of the weekend. So it started with the victory of Marseille in Reims 3-1. Brest won in Saint-Etienne as well. Paris Saint-Germain won in Metz 3-1. Nice won at home against Montpellier 3-1 after being down 1-0. Lorient crushed Bordeaux 4-1. Rennes crushed Dijon, and Dijon is now officially relegated in Division 2 in Ligue 2. Rennes won 5-1 against Dijon. Strasbourg lost at home to Nantes 2-1. Very, very important result for Nantes. Lens, despite being down to 10 men for 70 minutes, won 2-1 against Nîmes. And Monaco won in Angers 1-0. And to finish, Lille won in Lyon 3-2. To quickly talk about each and every game, so we're going to start with Reims against Marseille. Marseille, who won 3-1 in Reims. Marseille, who didn't start the game the best way because Mboukou was the first goal scorer at the 38th minute, and then Marseille scored twice thanks to Dimitri Payet at the 41st minute and the 76th, and Arkadiusz Milik in the meantime had scored at the 47th minute. Reims took a red card at the 70th minute by Woodface for a second yellow on a foul on Valentin Rongier, who's back with Marseille. The statistic: 59% position for Marseille, 11 shots, 6 on target, 10 shots for Reims, only 1 on target. The goal by Mboukou, which was a header on a corner. It was an interesting game. The Reims team clearly wanting to see Guillon off the right way. Guillon is actually leaving Stade de Reims as well. I didn't say that in my intro. Another coach who's leaving is his name is going to get back to me, sorry. David Guillon. David Guillon used to coach my brother in a team in south of France, if that interests anyone. David Guillon, the coach from Reims, who's going to leave at the end of the season. The team definitely played a strong game, and it's not easy against Marseille, who's attacking relentlessly since they started with Sampaoli. It's also interesting to see how long it took Marseille to try and get into the rhythm and to try and actually perform against Reims. The first half was quite dreadful until the 40th minute, and then I guess not luckily, but Payet and Milik were able to do the difference. But until then, it was pretty hard to see some good football. The second half was a little bit better for Marseille, and Reims then sort of only could defend, and that red card didn't help. 3-1 is a very good result for Marseille, obviously. Marseille, who now has scored 3 goals or more in the last 3 games, 2 goals or more in the last 4. There's basically, since Sampaoli came and took over Marseille, they've won 5 games, drew 1 and lost 1. Very positive results. And they've been able to score, if I'm not mistaken, we were at 12, so we are at 15 goals now in that 7 games. So we are over 2 goals per game for Sampaoli since he arrived in Marseille. It's also one of the games where they finally avoided taking cards, which is rare for Marseille, unfortunately. 0 cards given when we know that they're not being the best with discipline, and it basically allowed Marseille to stick with Lens. Right, they're still 6th with 55 points. A point behind Lens, a point over Rennes. All in all, it was a good result for Marseille. For Reims, they're already ensured that they're not going to be relegated. They are 11th with 41 points. The fact that they were able to open the score showed that they were not here to just see Marseille playing their game, and it'll be a good little end of season for David Guillon and Reims, I'm sure. Marseille needs to still push to be able to get to the Europa League, which most likely the 5th place will be qualifying for the Europa League. 3-1 was the final score. Next week, Marseille will be hosting Strasbourg Saturday morning at 5 a.m. And Reims will be travelling to Nîmes. Nîmes, who's fighting for their survival in Ligue. Next game up is Saint-Etienne against Brest. Saint-Etienne who lost 2-1 against Brest despite starting the game the best way with Waib Kazri scoring first at the 11th minute, the Tunisian international who's the best goal scorer in Ligue 1 in 2021 I think, or in the last month, 6 goals. He's been a bit of the light for Saint-Etienne, but unfortunately for him, another striker, Gaëtan Charbonnet, was in form, 66 and 79th minutes, scored a free kick, a beautiful free kick, and a none less beautiful goal within the box at the 79th minute. At the stats, Brest with 58% possession, 12 shots, 7 on target, and 6 shots for the Gen, 3 on target. I'm not going to spend too much time on that game because we're going to focus on the top of the league, but a good success for Brest, a crucial success for Brest, I should say even, who are, with that win, taking over Saint-Etienne and coming back to the 13th spot with 40 points, which basically give them also insurance that they're not going to be relegated, which 6 points away from 18 and 19th. They still were risking it, and now they have a bit more air. Next game, we're going to spend a bit more time on it. Metz against Paris Saint-Germain. Paris Saint-Germain who won 3-1 in Metz. The goal scorer Kylian Mbappé at the 4th and 59th minutes. And Mauro Icardi at the 89th minute responded to Fabien Santonge, who leveled the game at the 46th minute. 67% possession for Paris Saint-Germain. 19 shots, 8 on target, 8 shots for Metz, only 3 on target, and a game that wasn't all easy for Paris Saint-Germain, who feared a little bit, especially at the beginning of the second half. Metz decided to really bring it on and to try and get results against the champion, and Paris Saint-Germain doesn't like when a team is actually playing football against them. Antonetti probably knows that, the coach, the Metz coach, and did whatever it took. It looked like it was going to be easy for Paris, because at the end of the first half they definitely had dominated the game, and they could have scored more, but they made it hard for themselves. They allowed Metz to come back into the game with the goal from Santonge. They almost scored again just after. Unfortunately for Metz, that goal might have woken up Paris Saint-Germain, and Mbappé got a bit, I guess, upset or vexed, and decided to score a beautiful goal. Just 30 minutes later, actually, screamer from outside the box that Ukija couldn't do much about it. The end of the last goal came all the way at the end, and besides that, Metz was the more dangerous. Unfortunately for Paris Saint-Germain, the big scare was the potential injury for Mbappé, who took a knock on his quads just at the edge of the box, but it looks like since then he's been cleared to play against Manchester City, which wasn't sure when we saw him falling, and when we saw how bad it looks like it was when the injury happened. For Metz, it's a bit of an unfortunate loss. Metz, who had the chance to try and sort of stick with the top of the table, not the top of the table, but with Montpellier, and unfortunately they lost, and now they're just going to finish the season in the middle of the table at 10th right now with 43 points. Interestingly enough, Antonetti took a shot at Paris Saint-Germain after the game, saying that he wasn't impressed by this Paris Saint-Germain team, and that he thought that the Paris Saint-Germain of the 1980s and the 1990s was more impressive than this Paris Saint-Germain. To be honest, it looked a bit like a cheap shot, and although I love Frédéric Antonetti, I don't really understand why he said that now, and maybe you don't like that the Paris Saint-Germain players are a bit confident and a bit arrogant, even maybe right now. It's said by a lot of players and a lot of coaches around Ligue 1, but saying that the teams of the 80s and 90s were better sounds a bit weird when you have two of the best players in the world playing in that club right now. Anyway, that's the game. Paris Saint-Germain winning 3-1 against Metz, and Paris Saint-Germain who had put pressure on Lille before their game in Lyon at the end of the weekend. The next game, Paris Saint-Germain will be playing against Lens, very important game for both teams, and Metz will be travelling to Dijon. Next game up, we'll just quickly talk about the results. Nice, who won 3-1 against Montpellier. Montpellier, who had scored first at the 3rd minute, but Nice had answered very quickly at the 6th minute by Boudaoui. The goal from Montpellier, was by Laborde on an assist from Delors, of course. So Nice scored by Hicham Boudaoui at the 6th minute, then Jean-Claire Todibo at the 39th, and Alexis Claude Moritz at the 40th. So at the halftime it was 3-1, and that was the score at the end of the game. A very, very intense game. 59% possession for Nice, 18 shots, 8 on targets, 40 shots for Montpellier, and only 3 on target. A game that Montpellier thought they started well, but then Nice really took it over and didn't even give Montpellier a chance to believe that they could get back into the game. Nice, who was actually impressive and who's slowly but surely getting back into where we expect them to be. Beating Montpellier is quite a performance, right? Montpellier hadn't lost since the 30th of January. They had a run of 11 games without defeat. Nice are on a good run of their own. They won 4 of the last 6 home games in Ligue, when they had lost 6 of their previous 7 home game in Ligue. So it's very important for Nice to get back into that rhythm. And that's a club that I had backed, thought would finish in the European positions, and they are slowly going back up the table. But they had a very, very rough patch under Patrick Vieira, and since Urcea took over, it wasn't best when he started, but now he's definitely found his rhythm, and potentially will bring back Nice to where we want them to be. Let's see if they stick with them next year, or if they recruit a coach. I wouldn't be surprised to see them recruiting a coach. With that win, they are now 9th with 46 points, just a point behind Montpellier. And next week for Matchday 35, Nice will be travelling to Lille, quite a hard game, while Montpellier hosts Saint-Etienne. Next game up, Lorient versus Bordeaux. We are talking about Bordeaux and their struggle this season. Bordeaux lost 4-1 against Lorient. Lorient with Johan Wissa scoring first at the 18th minute. A hat-trick for Terem Moffi, 20th, 43rd and 80th minute. Issouf Sissoko, the young Bordelais, scored at the 83 minute to try and make the score a little bit less bad, but not much that could be done. The game wasn't that one-sided for Lorient. Bordeaux fought the good fight and had the ball for most of the game. 57% possession, 13 shots both sides, and 7 shots on target both sides. It's such a crucial win for Lorient, who now have won 6 of their last 8 Ligue 1 games, which is a crucial form to be in when you're trying to save yourself from relegation. Bordeaux, though, lost each of their last 5 Ligue 1 games against Montpellier, Strasbourg, Saint-Etienne, Monaco, and now Lorient, which is their longest run since April-May 2019. Bordeaux only 36 points after 34 games. This is their worst tally at this stage in the history of top flights, behind 1955, 1956, and 1959, 1960. It's just not the season for Bordeaux, and I'm sure they can't wait for it to be over with the hope that they're not going to be finding themselves relegated because of being in administration right now. They've lost 6 of their last 7 away games in Ligue 1 as well, when they had a good away form before that. Not a lot to say really about this game. Lorient was just lethal. Terem Moffi, we've said a lot of good things about him, and he keeps showing that he's in good form. He keeps scoring the goals that matter. That hat-trick matter more than anything right now, because it allows Lorient to actually take a breather and take 4 points. Put a 4-point gap between them and Nantes and Nîmes. 35 points for Lorient, 31 points for Nantes and Nîmes. Obviously crucial for Lorient and their survival in Ligue 1. A lot of pressure put on Nantes and Nîmes, of course, with that win by Lorient. Lorient, with that win also, that is coming back a point behind Bordeaux. Bordeaux is only 5 points over Nantes and Nîmes. So even if it doesn't happen with the financial things, they're under threat to go down on the pitch as well. Next game for both teams, Bordeaux will be hosting Rennes in another complicated game for les Girondins, and Lorient will be hosting Angers. Next game up, Rennes. We just talked about with Dijon and Pep Genesio, the new Rennes coach, who still keep his good run alive. A victory 5-1 against Dijon, who's now officially relegated in Ligue 2. Dijon, who started the game well with the goal by Yacine Benzia on penalty. Good to see Benzia scoring after his bad accident last year. He broke his wrist while he was riding a quad bike. And he's finally slowly going back at level. Unfortunately for him, Dijon will be in Ligue 2. It'll be interesting to see if he stays with Dijon or if he finds another Ligue 1 club. So he scored first at the 9th minute. After that, Martin Terrier scored 2 goals, 15th and 71st minute. And in the last 20 minutes, Rennes basically nailed the coffin. Flavien T scored at the 72nd, Niamzi at the 81st, and Clément Grenier at the 92nd minute. At the stats, Rennes dominated that game head and shoulder, 75% possession, 25 shots, 12 on target. Only 4 shots for Dijon, only 1 on target, which was the penalty. So a victory somewhat deserved by Rennes. That's the first time they scored 5 games in Ligue 1 since about a year ago against Montpellier when they won 5-0. They're also unbeaten in their last 6 Ligue 1 games when they had lost 5 in a row before that. That series of 5 losses ended with Genesio's second game, I should say. He lost his first game, he won his second game. Dijon officially relegated in Ligue 1 with 18 points in 34 games. They have the worst tally for a team at this stage since Troyes in 2015-2016. Rennes have scored 10 goals with their defenders in Ligue 1 this season. 4 goals by Da Silva, 3 by Aguerd, 1 by Truffert, 1 by Traoré, 1 by Niamzi, which is their most in a single season. Top flight since 76-77. The game itself, Rennes made the most of their opportunity in the first half and pushed. They probably weren't impressive offensively in the first half. They just were keeping the ball, but Dijon was defending very well, and they had a very, very tense defense. In the second half, we started seeing the cracks through the Dijon defense, and Rennes just took advantage of it and scored as many goals as they could, which is important for them to get a good goal difference, because they're fighting with Lyon, with Lens and Marseille for that Europa League spot. They're now third in that little race with 54 points. They're 7th, a point behind Marseille, 2 points behind Lens. But that goal difference matters. They have the best goal difference of the 3, and probably because of that win, because they have a plus 12 goal difference, while Lens has plus 8 and Marseille plus 7. No doubt that this is going to have an impact by the end of the season. So it's good that Rennes is already known by Castelletto and Blas. Scored as well. Sorry, I think my internet is being a bit slow. I'll go back. Statistic wise, 65% possession for Strasbourg, only 35 for Nantes. 12 shots, 4 on target for Strasbourg, 7 shots, 5 on target for Nantes, and yet Nantes was able to get the win. Nantes didn't play beautiful football and could have lost that game before if it wasn't for Alban Lafont in form, and for also the lack of accuracy and the lack of success in execution for Strasbourg. But at the end, Nantes get the 3 points, and the 3 points are so important for Nantes, who's able to come back to Nîmes on the table. If it wasn't for that win, they would be 3 points behind Nîmes, and that's not the place that Nantes would like to be. Now with that win and with a better goal difference, Nîmes has minus 29 in goal difference, and Nantes has minus 17. Nantes is able to be over Nîmes, and right now in the spots where they can save themselves with a playoff against the third team in Ligue 2, which is still not perfect for Nantes, but better than being relegated straight away, of course. Next game for both teams, Nantes will have the hard task to travel to Brest, and Nîmes will be hosting Reims. Next game up, Lens versus Nîmes, the other team that's concerned with relegation, and Nîmes lost in last 2-1, despite last playing with 10 men for 70 minutes. Ignatius Ganago scored for Lens the first goal. Ganago is back. He was such a prolific goal scorer in the beginning of the season. Now he looked like he's slowly coming back at his level. He scored at 17th minute. Masajo Aidara scored a beautiful scissor kick at the 76th minute for Lens. In the meantime, Zinedine Ferrat has scored for Nîmes at the 52nd minute on penalty. The red card came for Isiaga, Silla for Lens at the 24th minute. Statistic-wise, Nîmes with the large possession, 57%, 16 shots for Nîmes, only 2 on target. For Lens, 7 shots and only 4 on target. Yes, the signal is back, thankfully. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Yes, excuse me. The win is very, very, very important for Lens. It's a bit unfortunate for Nîmes, who was doing the hard job. Obviously, for Nîmes, it's always going to be hard when you lose Renaud Ripard, who got injured very early in the game after that red card given to Silla, excuse me. And with that Ripard, Nîmes just was a little bit less. Scissor kick by Masajo Aidara was just beautiful. Next game for both teams, Lens, who is now still a point clear of Marseille, will be travelling to Paris Saint-Germain, which is going to be hard for them to stay over Marseille when they're travelling to Paris Saint-Germain. And Nîmes, excuse me, we said already, is hosting Reims. Alright, the next two games obviously are important because they talk about the top of the table. Monaco won 1-0 in Angers with Sam Ben Yedder, the goal scorer, with his Sangoku celebration at the 79th minute. Angers, who's just the shadow of themselves for 2 months now. I think I said in the pod with I think it was with Sam from Lyon that Angers would be somehow the referee of the end of the season because they had been so good against strong teams. Unfortunately, they're just not working well, and maybe it's because Moulin said that he was leaving. Maybe they had such a negative impact on the team that they're not performing. But that game against Monaco, Angers was again just not great. Monaco, by all means, didn't play their best game of the season, but Angers offered no doubt. 59% possession for Monaco, 10 shots, 3 on targets, 4 shots for Angers, not 1 on target, unfortunately. And it's just a crucial win for Niko Kovac. The players celebrated that one because they knew that with Lille and Lyon playing against each other later that night, that would mean regardless that the win would put them 4 points away from Lyon now that Lyon has lost, but at least would keep them in the race to be able to get the title. Monaco with 71 points is third. They have the worst goal difference of the three up front, Lille with 35 and Paris with 51, but they can still believe in it, and again they're in that amazing run of just wins in a row that put them, definitely not favourite, because Lille and Paris Saint-Germain are favourite, but definitely serious outsiders, although the next game for Monaco is Lyon. Monaco-Lyon on Sunday night or Monday morning here in Australia would definitely be a decider for the end of the season. In the meantime, Angers will be travelling to Lorient. Last game of the weekend, and what a game between Lyon and Lille. I feel so bad for my friends who support Lyon. I hope you guys are coming into the live now because it's going to be a hard time for you guys. So Lyon, who lost 3-2 at home against Lille, the goal scorer Islam Slimani at the 20th and José Fonte at the 35th for an own goal. And for Lille, the goal scorer were Burak Yilmaz at the 45th minute before halftime, and then he scored his second goal at the 85th, and then John David scored at the 60th after an assist by Lucas Paqueta. statistic-wise, the possession 54% for Lille, 16 shots, 8 on target, only 7 shots for Lyon, only 2 on target, and this might also explain that. As far as the game goes, the first half was just a lesson of football by Lyon. They look untouchable, defensively, offensively. Kakere had a game for the edges. Melvin Barr, the left back, has actually had a solid game. Even Desilio, who we were surprised to see as a centre back, actually performed well. Lopez had the save that he had. Lille is one of the very good team in Ligue, so you can never think that you've won the game when you're playing against Lille. But when you're up 2-0 at home and that you end up losing it, it's just sad for Lyon. And I can see the reaction of the Lyon supporters who are losing it. They basically lost the title. The fight for the title on that game. I mean, if they win against Monaco, they have a chance to get back, but they might also have lost their opportunity to play Champions League football next year, and that's terrible. I'll be interested to see what that press conference is in 10 minutes given by Jean-Michel Aulas, since it's going to give a live press conference. I'm assuming it's going to be about their feminine football coach, because they've been they just lost in Champions League semi-final the women's game. But we never know. Maybe he's going to say something about the males as well. Jonathan, Lille is a very, very good team, and they're really performing. And of course, Raphael at LOM. We're not going to lie. We support Marseille in this side as well. Lille is a very, very strong team, and Lyon know that Lille is a strong team, yet made some questionable change to say the least. Paqueta sure made a mistake and gave the goal away, but then replacing him maybe wasn't the best move. Replacing Kakere maybe wasn't the best move, and then putting Belhamri instead of Dubois to try and hold the results probably also wasn't the best move. For Garcia has been pretty heavily criticized after the game, and for all the right reasons. His team just stopped playing in the second half. On the other side, Lille, Burak Yilmaz is such a great striker, 35-year-old, and came for free. Every time I see him play, and I said that in the little Twitter chat that I'm with, every time I see him play, I feel so bad that he doesn't play for Marseille, and that Marseille didn't see him. Such a strong leader, such a fighter, such a dog up front for Lille, and everyone wants that kind of striker in their team. It's just what you want in front of you. Yeah, for sure. Rafael Garcia's terrible. Every time Garcia thinks he has it, and he loses it. I had given Lyon favorite to win the title in December, and then in January they were up front, and everyone, even like the L'Equipe, had put on the title that Garcia and Lyon were going to win the title. But yeah, he's an official choker for sure. But yeah, coming back to Lille and Yilmaz, the kind of player that you want in your team. Runs everywhere, fights everything, go for every ball, and then obviously his ability to score. The second goal, unfortunately for Lyon, is all Lyon. Lucas Paqueta trying to pass the ball to his defense, bad execution, and then the ball is basically given to Lille in the box, and David is found by Yilmaz in the middle of the box and just tap it into the empty net. So there's not much anyone else can do, and we've all seen the images of Paqueta crying on the bench after the game, which is heartbreaking because he's been the one player in Lyon that has been amazing since he arrived and that has brought that grinta in Lyon, but unfortunately that goal was his. And then to finish it, Yilmaz scored the goal, and again on that third goal, the Lyon defense, I just don't understand. Marcelo decides to follow Yilmaz, although Yilmaz is 6 meters in his half and the only one. He's just two steps ahead, and then he's offside, and then it's the end of your woes. But you don't do that. You don't defend well on the header for Yazici, and then Yilmaz found himself 1v1 against Anthony Lopez, and he's not going to miss that. Rafael, you're saying Garcia time, Galtier time. He's so good at making sure his team feels concert up until the very end, and he's so good at making sure that his team will keep going. I mean, if you'd seen all the players on the bench and Galtier on the bench towards the end, all like holding each other like they were about to win the World Cup, it was a very, very important result for Lille, and they knew that they were going to have the hardest calendar potentially by having to go having to go to Lyon, and then having to play against Nice and then against Lens as well. But they've negotiated that the perfect way. Interestingly enough, I think that they could have trouble against Nice next week at home because they might think it's too easy. But the path is open for them, right? Paris Saint-Germain has to play 2 semi-finals against Manchester City, while Lille only plays once a week. Lille doesn't even have to play in French Cup anymore. Monaco will play in French Cup, even though they're going to play a third tier team. So it looks very, very, very open for Lille. If we look quickly at what the last 4 games are going to be for this top 3 teams now, right? Sorry, we're going to discount Lyon a little bit. Paris Saint-Germain will be playing against Lens. They will be playing, against Rennes, and then they'll play Reims, and to finish, they'll play Brest. So they look like a pretty easy run for them. Yeah, Raphael, I couldn't agree more with you. Very underrated. Since Lille's changed completely this year with with Gerard Lopez leaving, I wouldn't be surprised to see him leaving. I think it depends, how many players they have to send, how many players they can keep. There's been talk that he wants to leave. He said he gave a bit of a weird interview at the beginning of the season where he was a bit vague and said that he had a club in his head that was his dream club to coach, and he wished that he can end up there. I don't know who these days. I don't know who would give a shot to a French coach. It's not like 10, 15